Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this. You stumble upon a hidden treasure. Not gold, not jewels, but something way older, more valuable. A 146,000-year-old human skull. It was hidden away for decades, and now, well, it's changing how we see ancient human history. Today, we're diving deep into the story of this skull. They call it the Dragon Man skull. First, it was labeled a whole new species, Homo longi. But new research, it completely flipped that idea. So our mission here is to unpack this skull's pretty amazing journey, from how it was found, which is a story in itself, to the cutting-edge science that showed us where it really fits in our family tree, and crucially, why this matters, why this shift in understanding is so important for how we see ourselves. And just so you know, this deep dive is based on two brand new papers published in Science and Self, pretty heavyweight journals. So the discovery story, it really does sound like something out of, I don't know, an adventure movie, doesn't it?
It really does. It's quite incredible.
Let's trace it back. So picture it. 1930s China. A worker is building a bridge over the Songhua River in Harbin. That area, it's known as Longjiang, which means Dragon River. And that's where the nickname comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So while working, he finds this skull. Amazing, right. But here's where it gets complicated.
Yeah, this is what's fascinating. The serendipity, but also the foresight of this work. He didn't immediately, hand it over. He actually kept it secret, hid it, apparently at the bottom of a well.
A well? Wow, why?
Well, the thinking is it was to protect it during the Japanese occupation of the area, so he hid it away safely. And it just stayed there for decades.
Okay, let's just pause on that.
Yeah.
Imagine finding something that significant and keeping it secret for 80 years. Just waiting.
It's hard to fathom, really. It wasn't until 2018, almost a century later.
2018, yeah.
His family finally donated it to Hebei GEO University, and that's when the science could actually begin on this unique fossil.
That is quite a journey from riverbed mud to research lab.
It really is. It's a testament to how well it was preserved somehow, and of course to the family deciding to share it. A huge moment for science.
So they finally have the skull. It's unique. What's the first take? What did scientists think initially?
Well, the first major study came out in 2021, and the conclusion then was, yes, this is something new. They declared it a new species of ancient human, Homo longi.
Homo longi, okay. And how did they arrive at that? What was the method?
It was based on what's called comparative morphology, which is basically the traditional way. You look closely at the physical features, the shape, the size, the details of the bone, and you compare those features to other known fossils, trying to figure out where it fits or doesn't fit in the family tree.
So they looked at it, measured it, compared it side by side with other hominin skulls and thought, yep, looks different enough, new species.
Pretty much. That was the initial interpretation.
But as we hinted, there was a catch, right? That wasn't the end of the story.
Exactly. And this really highlights a bigger question in paleoanthropology. How do we classify these ancient relatives? Morphology, looking at physical shape, it's crucial. It's the starting point.
Yeah.
But it can sometimes, it can hide the deeper genetic connections.
How so?
As the source material points out, physical looks don't always tell the full genetic story. Think about modern humans. We look incredibly diverse, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But we're all the same species. Lifestyle, diet, climate, these things can shape how groups look differently over time, even if they're closely related genetically.
Oh, I see. So the physical form might diverge a bit, even if the underlying genetics show they're cousins.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So that Homo longi classification based purely on looks was potentially missing that deeper picture.
Okay, so morphology has its limits. This sounds like a job for genetics, ancient DNA.
That's exactly where the story goes next. It needed a different kind of evidence.
So who stepped in? Who led this new investigation?
The lead researcher on these two new studies is Qiaomei Fu, a paleontologist at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. And her team faced a really big challenge. Getting molecular evidence, like DNA or proteins, out of fossils this old. It's notoriously tough.
Right. I've heard it's often called destructive, too. You damage the fossil to get the sample.
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
And ancient DNA, especially from something over 100,000 years old, is usually incredibly fragmented, degraded.
Yeah.
If it's there at all. So it's often a long shot, no guarantee of success.
But spoiler alert, they did succeed, didn't they? And in a pretty amazing way.
They absolutely did. Astonishingly well, actually. They managed to retrieve ancient proteins first.
Okay, proteins. Where from?
From the skull's petrous bone, that's part of the temporal bone near the ear. It's one of the densest bones in the body.
Ah, so density helps preserve things better?
Exactly. It's kind of a known hotspot for finding preserved biomolecules. But the real breakthrough, the truly surprising part, was the DNA.
Right. This is the bit that blew my mind. Where did they find the DNA?
Get this. They got mitochondrial DNA from the plaque on the dragon man's teeth.
Dental plaque. You mean like the stuff the dentist scrapes off?
Essentially, yes. Hardened dental plaque, which is called calculus.
That's wild. I wouldn't think DNA would survive there. Isn't it mostly bacteria and food bits?
Well, yes, it's a biofilm. It's complex. And honestly, it's not usually considered a prime source for the host's DNA. Maybe some bacterial DNA, sure. But here, it worked incredibly well. They only needed 0.3 milligrams of this calculus. Tiny amount.
Wow.
And from that, they got usable mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, which tracks the maternal line. It often survives better than nuclear DNA.
So finding it in plaque, is that a one-off, or does this change things for finding ancient DNA generally?
Oh, it could be a really big deal. This success, getting human mtDNA from calculus, potentially even better than from the dense bone in this case. It suggests a whole new strategy. The researchers themselves noted that dental calculus might be a really valuable source, maybe even more reliable sometimes for these really old Middle Pleistocene hominins.
So other fossils that we thought maybe didn't have DNA, perhaps we could look at their teeth plaque now.
It opens up that possibility, absolutely, especially for remains where the bones are too degraded or where getting nuclear DNA is just impossible. It's a significant methodological step forward.
Okay, so they got the proteins, they got the mitochondrial DNA from the plaque. What did this molecular story actually tell them about who the Dragon Man was?
Right, this is the punchline. All this molecular data pointed away from him being a unique species, Homo longa. Instead, it linked him very clearly to another group of ancient humans. The mitochondrial DNA showed a direct species-level relationship. At least 5 other individuals whose remains were found way over in Siberia. Individuals identified as Denisovans.
Denisovans. Okay, wow. And the proteins, did they confirm that?
They did. Out of, I think it was 95 protein fragments they recovered from the skull, 4 were unmistakably Denisovan. And 3 of those were direct matches to known Denisovan protein sequences.
That sounds pretty conclusive.
It's very strong evidence. Now, the researchers are careful. They acknowledge there are limitations. Ancient samples are tricky. There's always some room for doubt.
Sure, science is cautious.
But the combined weight of the mtDNA and the proteins, it's robust enough that they're saying, yeah, for now, this individual belongs with the Denisovans.
So Homo longi is out, Dragon Man is a Denisovan?
Effectively, yes. And if you think about what we knew, or rather didn't know, about Denisovans, this is huge.
Explain that. What did we know about them before this?
Denisovans have always been this really enigmatic, almost ghostly group in our family tree. We knew they existed mainly from DNA extracted from tiny fragments, a finger bone, a few teeth found in Denisova Cave in Siberia, later a jawbone found on the Tibetan Plateau.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it physically.
So just fragments. We had their DNA, but almost no idea what they actually look like?
Exactly. We knew they were related to Neanderthals, that they interbred with ancient modern humans. But we had no face, no complete skull, just these tantalizing bits and pieces.
Until now.
Until now. This Dragon Man skull, this Harbin cranium. It's the first largely complete skull we have from that entire group. We've essentially just been handed the first Denisovan face.
Wow. That fills a massive gap then. A really frustrating gap, I imagine, for paleoanthropologists.
Oh, enormous. You have this whole branch of the human family tree, and you can't even properly picture them. Now, we can. This doesn't just reclassify one fossil. It fundamentally changes our ability to study Denisovans, their anatomy, their adaptations, how they varied.
And how they relate to us and Neanderthals visually, not just genetically.
Precisely. It lets us compare skulls properly. It's a massive leap in understanding this group we knew so little about, physically speaking.
And the irony, you mentioned it earlier, this incredibly important skull, this missing piece, was just sitting hidden for almost 100 years.
Yeah, the irony is pretty thick, isn't it? Talk about hiding in plain sight.
Oh.
Or, well, at the bottom of a well.
It really makes you think. This whole time, this key to understanding Denisovans was just waiting.
It really underscores how discoveries can happen. Sometimes it's digging in a new cave, sometimes it's applying new technology to something we already had, maybe even something misidentified in a museum drawer.
Or in this case, donated by a family after decades.
Right. It's a testament to preservation, patience, the family's decision, and of course these incredible new molecular techniques.
So let's just recap this incredible journey. We have the Dragon Man skull, found in the 30s, hidden in a well, donated in 2018, initially called a new species, Homo longi, based on its looks.
Right, based on morphology.
But then New molecular analysis, especially that amazing DNA find in the dental plaque,
Yeah, the calculus DNA.
reveals its true identity. It's not new, it's actually a Denisovan, our first good look at one.
Exactly. It shows how science evolves. New methods, like analyzing ancient proteins and mtDNA from unexpected sources, can completely overturn earlier conclusions. Even with, the standard scientific caveats, the picture is much clearer now.
It really highlights the power of pushing those technological boundaries in science.
Absolutely. It tells us our understanding of the past isn't fixed. It's constantly being refined, rewritten sometimes, as we get better tools to investigate.
Which kind of leaves us with a fascinating thought to chew on, doesn't it?
Mm.
What other huge discoveries, what other crucial pieces of our own deep history might still be out there? Maybe not buried, but like you said, sitting in a museum collection, mislabeled. Or just waiting for someone to look at it with fresh eyes, or with a new technique like analyzing tooth plaque.
It's entirely possible. There could be revolutionary finds just waiting for their moment, for the right approach or the right technology to unlock their secrets.
Makes you wonder what we'll uncover next.
Oh.
So, thinking about this whole story, from the well to the lab,
Yeah.
what really stands out to you about this deep dive? Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this. You stumble upon a hidden treasure. Not gold, not jewels, but something way